This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle With out Bruce Prichard. Yep, that's right. I'm sorry. It's another remix episode, but just like last week, we have a special guest. Stay tuned until the very end. You don't want to miss this. But today, it's all about Michael P.S. Hayes, a great close personal friend of the show. And I got to tell you, he is one of the smartest minds in professional wrestling. There's really no other explanation as to why Michael has had such longevity in this wrestling space. Of course, we know he was tearing it up when he was a free bird, and we all saw what he did over in WCW when he had a second lease on life with a new version of the Freebirds, Mr. Jimmy Jam Garvin, another friend of the show. But it's his work for WWE, and no, not as Doc Hendricks, but behind the scenes, that has probably cemented his legacy in the Wrestling Hall of Fame in our minds. Of course, he's in every other Wrestling Hall of Fame, but so many great magic moments that you've seen in WWE had a little bit of Michael Hayes' fingerprints on it. And today we're going to pay tribute to the man, the myth, the legend, Michael P.S. Hayes, as only Bruce and I know how. And I'll never forget, man, we actually recorded this episode in a studio, the Westwood One Studios right there in Manhattan. And it was Bruce's first WrestleMania back, 2019. So just over 2 years ago. It was pretty cool to record in that studio, and it was even better when Tim Sabian ran in the room with a couple of pizzas from Joe's, which is Bruce's absolute favorite spot. But Bruce was rip-roaring ready to go. He had just started in late February, and he was excited to be back in the saddle with WWE, and there we were, WrestleMania weekend. So let's jump back in and play a little bit of the classic Michael Hayes episode. I'll chime in from here and there and add a little context. But don't miss the end. I'm telling you, it's like those Marvel movies where you think the credits have rolled and there's a little thing at the end. Well, that's us here on this very special remix of Michael P.S. Hayes getting the Something to Wrestle treatment with Bruce Prichard. Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com. The one and only Michael P.S. Hayes, born March 29th, 1959 in Philadelphia, PA. That's actually the reason we originally wanted to cover him a couple of weeks ago on the 29th. He moved to Pensacola when he was like 8 years old and starts wrestling in 1979 using his real name as a referee. And back in the day when he was working that Florida, Alabama, Tennessee territory, he was riding up and down the roads with Hollywood John Tatum. It's a name we haven't talked about much on the show here. You got any John Tatum stories you can share with us?
Well, John Tatum and Missy Hyatt were an item for a time. And John is actually the first one that brought Missy Hyatt into the wrestling business, per se. And John brought Missy to the Mid-South area. They were a tandem, good-looking team, two young people. And that's also where Missy and Eddie Gilbert first met, and then they became a tandem and eventually got married.
A pattern here.
Yeah, but that was John Tatum, and I think that Johnny was an interesting cat, and that wasn't the best worker in the world. And the guy we're going to be talking about today, Michael Hayes, wasn't the greatest worker in the world.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
He was a damn good man on the mic.
Yeah, and really, in wrestling, sometimes a big personality compensates for maybe what you lack in the ring and vice versa. So you talked about him not being maybe the best worker in the world. Of course, we're talking about Michael Hayes. He's trained by Alpha, the Wild Samoans. I didn't know that, so I started doing research for this show. Alpha is, he's got quite the legacy as a trainer. Tell everybody some of the other folks he would have trained over the years.
Well, Alpha actually helped start Batista and Billy Kidman. The list kind of goes on because during that era, there weren't a lot of schools for guys to go and learn the trade. There weren't a lot of places, if you wanted to become a professional wrestler, to go and learn. And Alpha provided that opportunity for people. Plus, he was a pretty good trainer, he and his brother. So,
what do you think wrestling school cost back then?
It would depend on the guy running it. Some guys were just looking for that quick $300 payday. So hey, come on in and pay $300. But I believe at the time Michael was paying $10 a week.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Some more information I found during my research here is that PS helped get in the business with Bill Moody. I didn't know that they were running mates way back in the day. That's sort of weird to think about.
Big Bill Moody from Mobile, Alabama.
Tell everybody who Bill Moody, or what would Bill Moody sound like, maybe?
Oh, yes, Michael Hayes, rest in peace.
Actually, the Freebirds were kind of known for peeing on people. Maybe it would be rest in piss.
Good point.
You think? Maybe?
Good point, yeah. That could happen. Probably did.
What did Michael ever share with you, or Paul Bearer share with you about the early days with them together? Sounds like a lot of weed going on.
I don't think that they were either one of them making enough money to be partaking in a lot of weed. However, in anticipation of this show, I did talk to Michael a little bit, and this will get you, Conrad, see, because back in the day, he was talking about $10 a week
Sure.
for lessons. And it was like $10 for a lid of pot.
What is a lid of pot?
See, I knew that you young whippersnappers would not know what a lid is.
I don't know what a lid is. That's like a store that sells hats in the mall.
Well, no, a lid was, like a bag of pot, about an ounce of pot and everything. So that was a lid. So you would go down to your local drug dealer and say, "Hey, buddy, got a lid on you?" "Yeah, I do." "How much?" And Michael was going for them $10 lids.
What, you could get a $10 ounce of weed?
Back in the day.
A lot of dirt in that bag. A lot of dirt.
It was dirty weed, didn't it? Yeah, it wasn't the good stuff.
Mostly shake, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Nah, well, a lot of stems, a lot of seeds.
Yeah.
Just,
It counts, dude.
Hey, it just means you got to smoke more of it.
Hey, so 1979, when he's wrestling for Mid-South Wrestling, at the suggestion of Bill Watts, he forms a tag team with Terry Bam Bam Gordy, and they win those Mid-South tag team titles 3 times, and there they become the Fabulous Freebirds, and of course, easy for me to say, the Fabulous Freebirds. He becomes Michael P.S. Hayes. There's been lots of debate over the years. Clear it up. Tell everybody what Michael says the P.S. stands for.
Well, fuck. Michael, like you think, is purely sexy. Dude.
Over the years, though, you guys have probably come up with other things to stand for those initials.
God, yeah, we did. Bill Watts did the Prissy Sissy and a few other things that you can't say on TV. But no, Michael, man, he didn't do the PS shit until he came back in the mid '80s in the Mid-South, and that's when he adopted the PS. I'm updating my gimmick, dude. I'm going to be PS now. Fuck. Law enforcement fuck me as fuck you.
Oh, that's my favorite Brian Gerwitz version of Michael Hayes. So he meets Terry Gordy as a teenager in Mississippi, and, instantly these guys hit it off, become big running mates. And, when they first sort of become buds, they're both teenagers. And I don't think we've talked about Terry Gordy a lot here on the show. I know he's really, really special to Michael. Tell us about, Michael's relationship with Gordy, and more importantly, what Gordy's sort of reputation was amongst his peers in the business.
Well, when they first broke into the business, both very young, they were both teenagers, I believe. Terry younger than Michael. However, Terry was the workhorse, and even at that young age, Terry was this big, just romping, stomping, brawler type of individual that could go out, work with anybody, and the fact that he was a big guy made him, hey, he'll be great for the main event. So you put Terry Gordy into that situation, then you've got a mouthpiece like Michael Hayes. Michael can go cut the promo, go get the heat, send Bam Bam in to do all the work. People love working with Bam Bam. I've never heard any complaints about anybody not wanting to work with Terry Gordy. Michael? Maybe. But Gordy? Never. Terry was a workhorse. But that relationship between Michael and Terry, they were brothers. They loved each other. They rode up and down the roads together. They did everything together, and they were family. So it wasn't a tag team partner. It wasn't a business relationship. It was a brotherhood, and they loved one another as deeply as you can, man to man.
All right, stop the tape. We got to talk about Terry Bam Bam Gordy here for a minute. I know some modern wrestling fans might take a look at him and maybe not get it. But dude, every wrestler and every fan who saw him work live just raved about him. And I can't help but wonder, like, who would you even compare him to in this more modern era? I mean, is it somebody like Samoa Joe or somebody like Walter or whoever it is? They would have to have their working boots on. It's rare that you hear anybody say anything other than Terry Gordy was a natural. Terry Gordy was a badass. Terry Gordy was this or that. Terry Gordy was something else, man. And he was also Michael's best friend. Let's jump back to it. Something to Wrestle. All about Michael Hayes. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.